In this video, we're going to go ahead and start creating a simple custom model for our character. We're going to go ahead and get started by going up to File, and we want to import the body that we exported in the previous video. You want to go ahead and grab your custom body, go ahead and select Import. Remember, we already fixed the skin on this, so we won't have to do that again. So it's already set up, taken care of for us. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and hide these joints, because every time you were to marquee select by holding the left mouse button and dragging, it'll select the bones instead of actually selecting the body. It's also easy to select the bone just by trying to click on the body, and you accidentally select the bone. So I go up to Show, find Joints, and go ahead and just uncheck that, and that'll keep them hidden while we're working. Another thing that I like to have set up is I like to have my outliner docked on the left hand side of my screen. To do that, come down about 1, 2 to your third box here. You'll see that there are these panel options, and what these are is different viewport layouts. Like if I select the second one, I have 4 windows. If I select the first one, it's just the main window. Well, on the third one, I like to have the perspective view along with the outliner. To change that, just right click on the third one, and you want to find perspective / outliner. Go ahead and select that, and it'll give you this option. So anytime you want to see your outliner, which will allow us to select various objects in our scene, it'll be right here on our left hand side instead of us having to go up to window and select outliner. Just a lot more convenient. Now, again, to move around in the viewport, the options for that is you hold down your Alt key and you use a mouse button. Like if I use the Alt key and I rotate with my left mouse button, or I can use the Alt key and zoom in with my right mouse button. The middle mouse button in Alt will allow us to sort of pan around the scene. So just remember that if you need to move the camera, it's the Alt button plus one of the mouse buttons. And you can also just use the mouse wheel by itself without holding down Alt to kind of get a sort of snapping zoom, kind of however you want to call that. I know there's proper terms for these and I'm not using them, pan, zoom, whatever, but you get the idea. It's Alt and a mouse button to move around. Now, I just wanted to iterate that this series is not about teaching you how to use Maya. There are other tutorial series that you can watch for learning how to use Maya. I will cover some very basics while we create this simple armor in order to learn how to get through this FBX Maya workflow into Fallout 4. So what we're going to do to create this is we're going to use a live surface quad draw technique for modeling. This is one of the powerful features within Maya that I use quite often in my workflow for creating clothing and what have you. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing we want to do is right click on the body, and while holding down the right mouse button, we're going to go down and we're going to assign a new material to the body, because we want to make the body slightly transparent when we're using quad draw. So let's go ahead and select Lambert. And with Lambert selected, you want to go ahead and hit this little arrow, and I'm in my attribute editor. If this ever is not visible, you can hit Control+A on the keyboard, and that will toggle your attribute editor. I'm going to go ahead and move over to the new Lambert that we just created, Lambert 3, and I'm just going to raise the transparency up about 3/4 of the way. Okay, with that set, now I'm going to make this a live surface. To make this a live surface, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to select the magnet next to no live surface. You'll see this up here. Just select that, and you'll notice now I cannot select the body. I can't click on it, nothing. It just will not select. So make sure you had the body selected, then come up and hit live surface. Again, you select the body, go up, click that little magnet. It's now a live surface. Now what we want to do is open up our modeling toolkit. In the upper right hand corner, you'll find Show Hide Modeling Toolkit. Go ahead and select that and come down and select Quad Draw. Right, now we are in quad draw mode. So I'm going to come in and zoom in on the torso of the body. What we're going to make, just to get through this process and show you how to get from Maya into Fallout 4, is a simple belt, like I don't know what you'd call it, kind of a low corset, not over the boobs. We're just going to go right around the torso with a nice size mesh, just so we can cover things like the zap sliders and what have you that are essential, because a lot of your bodies have scaling bones. But let's go ahead and get started. To draw on the body with quad draw, what you want to do is just click on the body, and you'll see now I have this little dot. That is actually a vertice that I have just placed on the body. Now if I were to kind of pan around, you'll see that it draws on the body. That's the beauty of making this a live surface, is I can draw directly on it, and it will, Maya Smart, it can say, okay, it'll go to the first surface that's right over where my mouse is. So I'm going to draw another point, and quads which is what most models are developed from. It's best to model in a quad format. Quads are 4 points. All right, so if I draw 2 more points and I make kind of a box and I hold down my shift key and mouse over those 4 points and then I click, it'll actually create a surface. Now I have a polygon surface. All right, so I'm going to draw 2 more down here, and I'm going to hold down shift, mouse in between. I have a point here, there's a point here, and 2 more points. That's 4 points. I'm going to draw another quad. So that's all there is to it. We're just going to go ahead and keep the topology very low, all right, because we're going to increase topology after we have some form. And we're going to go ahead and draw a sort of piece of clothing going all the way around the waist. So let's go ahead and get started with that. We're going to draw one here, one here. I'm just clicking on the body, hold down shift, create another polygon. I'm going to do that once more, create another polygon. And you can get pretty slick here and you can create 2 polygons at once. Watch this. I'll go 1, 2, 3, and then I'll hold down shift, click here, click here. You can see how this can get pretty fast after you've gotten experienced with it. So I'll go ahead and do that again. Just draw 2 more. Again, I'm just clicking on the body. Then I hold down shift, mouse in between the 4 points, and left click again. Right? I'm going to come all the way around. Don't worry about getting them all perfect and nice and in order. We're just kind of getting around the body. We can clean those up here in a moment. So let's go ahead, draw 2 more, and we're only going to go halfway around the body because we're going to mirror what we create over to the other side. Let's go ahead and create 2 more faces here. Now let's do a little bit of cleanup to our topology because it's kind of the edge kind of got a little wavy here, as you can see. To do that, all we're going to do is we're going to hold down the shift key, and you can see that the mouse has changed to this relax brush. Now we're going to mouse over these edges and left click while holding down shift, and that's going to kind of relax it a little bit. And I can also kind of relax it here and come back over here and kind of relax this. And I'm just holding down shift and left clicking while dragging across the edge. I'm just with my mouse, I'm following the edge flow. Now that'll also work on faces. You can smooth out faces by dragging across faces, or rather relax them. And what they're doing is they're conforming to the live surface object, to our body. These edges and faces are conforming better. They're sort of shrink wrapping to the body as we're relaxing them. So now we're going all the way around the body. This is looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and mirror this now. So I'm going to press W on the keyboard. I'm going to go to object mode, select the object, and I'm going to right click, and while holding down the right mouse button, I'm going to go to vertice. Okay. Now anytime you want to get that menu popped up, you just hold down the right mouse button and you can decide, do you want to select edges, vertices, faces, whatever. So I'm going to right click, go to vertice. I'm going to marquee select all of the ones. Now I'm kind of facing in front of the body here, and I'm marquee selecting by holding down the left mouse button and just dragging over all these vertices. Now make sure you don't get anything on this side of it, to the left of it or to the right of it. You just want the ones that you want to line up to the middle. Now to line these up, we're just going to come up here to our X. If you look down here, X is this way, left and right. So I want to line this up on the X. So I'm going to hit 0 in there and press enter. And that will line all of these vertices that we have selected up to 0. All right. So now that's taken care of. Let's go ahead and mirror this. So I'm going to select this surface here, and I'm going to go up to our rigging. You'll see rigging or modeling or something up here. Change this drop down to modeling. And we want to go over to our mesh, drop this down, and we're looking for mirror geometry. Now we're going to go inside of the settings for mirror geometry. And one way to identify which direction we want to mirror in is to look at your little widget down here in the lower left hand corner, and I can see the X is pointing towards my left. Now that means that X positive is where the line is going. The line is going towards the left, so X positive is the direction that I want to go in. Now if I wanted it to mirror that way towards my right, it would be negative because the line is going this way. It's not positive. So that's kind of how you identify it with this. Positive will always be the direction that the line is going towards the letter or the axis. So I'm going to use X positive because I want to go towards X. All right, so I'll go ahead and click mirror. Now we've mirrored around the body. Now this thing will pop up. If you ever see this, just click off into nothingness and that'll cause it to disappear. So now we have this little corset thing going around our character model, and this is okay. But let's add 2 more edge loops to this using quad draw again. So now I'm going to make sure that I have the object selected. before I go back into quad draw. Because if you don't have the object selected and you enter quad draw again, it'll create a new object. So in order to continue working with an object, you have to select that object and then go back into quad draw. So now I can work with our same object that we were working with before. Now I'm going to add 2 more rings going around this. And to do that, I'm going to hold down the control key. And you can see that I have this yellow line going around our model. If I left click, if I position this kind of between this arrow, the middle, and this right here, if I kind of position this sort of in the middle between those two, and then I left click, see how it kind of conformed? That's the beauty of quad draw. It conforms as you add more geometry to it. So we're subdividing it again up here. So I'm just going to kind of divide it right there. And I'm going to add another edge loop, and you can see it sort of conformed. You can kind of see the transparency of the body and how this model is better conformed to it. So now we're at a good point where we're about ready to extrude. So in the next video, we'll go ahead and extrude and continue to work on our model. We should be able to finish this model in one more video. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to post below the video and click subscribe to follow us on YouTube.